Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. So in this week's edition, you're going to notice that there's actually a little bit of activity going on in Standard as the metagame evolves. However, Modern and Legacy are both very slow right now. I think everybody's kind of holding their breath, waiting to see what's going to be in Eternal Masters. Now, as always, reserve list cards are good investments if you can afford to kind of jump on that train. But the non-reserve list cards are pretty much holding steady right now. So let's go into the Market Watch, see what's going on. We'll start off with Standard. We'll look at the top 5 Standard cards that lost value this week. Coming in at number 5 is Seasons Past, losing $1.04 to $7.61. Now, this card was featured in John Finkel's deck in the Pro Tour, so got a lot of coverage and got pretty hot there for a couple weeks. But a week now removed from the Pro Tour, and it seems like that particular deck isn't standing up to some of the others in the metagame, and because of that, this card is starting to fall. So I think this will continue to fall unless somebody finds a solution to some of the other decks out there. I don't know if this deck will hang on. Number 4 is Pyromancer's Goggles, losing $1.37 to $16.15. Now, this is just normal stabilization. This card has seen play in a number of different high-power decks recently, and that's not really changing. So keep an eye on this one. I think it will drop a little bit now that the hype's dying down, but it could also increase again in the future. Number 3, Archangel of Tithes, losing $1.57 to $18. Now, this particular card, as well as the mono-white kind of beat down decks, are still very, very popular. Although there's just so many good decks out there. People that invested in that deck early on are now trying out some different things. So that's probably why you're seeing a slight dip here. But let's face it, this is still a good card. This is still in a very good deck. And I think this just is normal stabilization for the most part. Number 2 is Archangel Avacyn, and basically the same thing as the previous card. She lost $2.47, bringing her down to $40. But I don't think she's going to drop too much farther. Maybe a few more dollars over the next few weeks. But let's face it, she's seeing a lot of play. Again, she had a pretty high price tag and had a pretty big spike a few weeks back. And I think we're just seeing some stabilization here. But this card is going to continue to see play and could potentially get better as she evolves in Standard. Finally, coming in at number 1 for the second week in a row is Jacques, Vern's Prodigy, losing $3.66 to $77.37. We talked about this a little bit last week, but without fetch lands in Standard, Jacques isn't quite as good. Now, it's still very good, still sees a fair amount of play in Standard for sure, but it's not kind of that auto-include 4 of. Another thing that makes it a little awkward is mana bases becoming less robust since rotation. Makes it hard to just splash for Jace, where a lot of decks were doing that before. So because of that, we're going to see a value loss here. Now, long term, Jace is still a very good investment. Jace is going to see Modern play, Legacy play, Vintage play. He's going to show up everywhere. So I could see, prior to him rotating out of Standard, there's potential that maybe he could go down to about $60, $65. I don't think this card's going down much lower than that. And then over time, I think it could increase if it doesn't see a reprint somewhere. Alright, let's look at the top 5 Standard cards that have gained value this week. Coming in number 5, Collected Company, went up 84 cents to $24.97. Now, this is still a powerhouse in like the Bad Company deck, for example. Also, the deck LSV featured the Aristocrats deck in the Pro Tour. So this card is going to stay pretty hot, although it is a rare, and I don't know if it's going to get much higher than about the $25, $26 spot. So I think this one's kind of topping out, but still a good long-term investment considering it still sees play in Modern and other formats. Number 4 is Brain in a Jar, going up $1.51 to $2.80. And the reason this is interesting is there's been a new kind of budget standard brew going around that revolves around Brain in a Jar, which actually looks pretty good. And a lot of people are jumping on and latching onto. So this has seen a pretty big increase this week and will probably continue to increase. So if you can pick these up for $1 or $2, could be a pretty good investment for you. Number 3, Part the Water Veil. It's gone up $2.21 to $5.41. Now, this is also part of that same brew, so again, it's getting a little bit of a benefit from that. This card also sees a tad bit of Modern play in a Fringe Extra Turns deck as well. Number 2 is Kalitas, Trader of Get. Gone up $2.65 to $29.95. Not a whole lot to say about this other than Kalitas seeing tons of play in Standard everywhere, and you probably noticed if you watched some Standard. So I think this will continue to go up, and this is a card that also has some Modern potential as well. Finally, number 1 is Nahari the Harbinger, going up 928 to 2163. So the jump here is due to the fact that, again, there's been some interesting brews with this card. Jeff Hoagland is one that's been brewing with it among some other players, but basically we're seeing Modern and Legacy decks being brewed with this card, and kind of makes sense because it's just really easy to grab an Eldrazi, throw it in play, use the Annihilator ability right off the bat, and it's not that hard to ultimate her. So watch for this one. There's also speculation that we're going to see a new Emrakul in the next Standard set, which would play really well with this card as well. So all that combined means this is going to be very hot, I think, for some time to come. If you can still get these before $15-20 or so, might be a good time to pick them up if you haven't already. All right, let's look at Modern. And like I said at the top of the show, Modern is kind of slow right now. I mean, it's not Modern season, although I will say the good news is we're not seeing any like big losses due to the fact that the announcement was made that there won't be a Modern Pro Tour. So I think that's good news that we're not seeing a whole lot of big changes. All right, coming in number 5 is Grove of the Burn Willows, losing 97 cents to 71.99. You'll find there's not a whole lot to say about the cards that are losing value this week. They're just very small changes. Number 4 is the Modern Masters 2015 Karn Liberated, going down 98 cents to 46.97. Number 3 is Modern Masters Arcbound Ravager, going down $1.01 to 49.37. Don't let that fool you. This card is still a big powerhouse in Modern. Number 2 is the Modern Masters versions of Tarmogoyf. So the 2015 version losing $1.07 to 143.54, with the regular one losing $1.18 to 152.98. So very small fluctuation. Tarmogoyf, of course, still a huge card. And finally, number 1 is Scalding Tarn, losing $1.55 to 86.04. Alright, so let's take a look at the hot cards in Modern. I guess the good news is we are seeing more of an increase this week than we're seeing any of the cards decreasing. So again, good news based off the fact that we got the announcement about the Pro Tour. Coming in number 5, Linvala, Keeper of Silence, going up $1.34 to 49.49. Number 4 is the Modern Masters Academy Runes, going up $1.49 to 25.52. Number 3 is Damnation, breaking the $70 mark. This went up $2.09, getting it to 72.01. Desperately needs a reprint. Number 2 is Verdant Catacombs, going up $2.19 to 69.31. And finally, Horizon Canopy is number 1, going up $2.77 to 83.33. This card's been above $80 now for a little bit. It's just crazy how much this has climbed. Alright, well, let's move on to Legacy. Now, like I said, Legacy isn't seeing huge sweeping changes either. Very similar to Modern, although maybe a little more flux than Modern right now. For cards that lost value this week, number 5, we're looking at the revised Underground Sea, which lost $206 to $340. Number 4 is the Unlimited Scrubland, which lost $228 to 136.16. Number 3 is City of Traders, losing $235 to 126.23. Number 2 is the revised Badlands, losing $259 to 76.50. And finally, we have Moat coming in number 1, losing $4.47 to a healthy $359.67. So, much like Modern, there's bigger increases than decreases, again, this week in Legacy, which is good. But for the most part, you're not going to see anything that's too huge and sweeping. Coming in at number 5 is Mox Diamond. This is the Stronghold version, going up $189 to $75. And I should point out that this is actually on the reserve list, but it did see a reprint in a From the Vault relics back before they changed the revised list policy. Originally, when they had the revised list, they said that they could reprint the cards in a promo form or foil form if they were never in foil before, and that counted for From the Vault. So there are actually 2 different versions of Mox Diamond out there, even though it is a reserve list card. Number 4 is Mishra's Factory, and this is the winter alternate art version from Antiquities. So this one's a little rarer than others. It went up 237 to 78.68 this week. This card sees play in Legacy and Vintage Standstill decks, and basically, if you want copies of this, you can still get them relatively cheap in other versions. Number 3 is Gamble. This went up $2.41 to $33.57. Gamble sees a little bit of fringe play in Legacy, sometimes in the lands deck as well as in the Reanimator build once in a while. So it's gone up a little bit, but it's not a reserve list card, so I don't know if this is a good investment long term unless you just need it for your deck. Number 2 is Meekstone, the unlimited version. Went up $7 to 18 cents. This is kind of an odd blip on the radar. It could be a buyout of some sort, or it simply could be just somebody overpaid this week for a copy of Meekstone. You can get other versions of Meekstone very cheap for just a couple dollars if you really need the card. Once in a while it sees play in Death and Taxes and Legacy, but it hasn't spiked in play or anything like that recently. Coming in at number 1 is Tropical Island for Unlimited. This went up $32.61 to $357.99. So, having said that, that is the market watch for this week. So, some interesting changes. Right now, it looks like everyone's kind of holding their breath for Eternal Masters. But Standard, there's a lot going on there. So, it's very interesting to watch in the meantime. But, hey, until then, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. And have a great day.
Hey, thanks as always for watching. This video, like all my videos, was made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Even a donation of $1 helps me to keep growing this community and creating better quality videos for all of you. Check out our Patreon page for exclusive giveaways and future goals for the channel. If you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the MTG news, spoilers, set reviews, product openings, or finance videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a good day.